figurative, and the whole, as all of Shir HaShirim is. But we'll take a look at the specifics one on this one. Okay, Ani chavatzeret Sharon. It's not on your page. It's in here. Do you have a Shir HaShirim? Very good. Ani chavatzeret Sharon, Shoshanat ha'amakim. I am the lily of the Sharon, the lily of the valley, different kinds of lilies, Chavatzelet, Shoshana. That's what she says. That's Ani, I am. And then he answers, Kishoshana ben achochim, ken rayati ben abanot. Just as a lily between the thorns, so too is my beloved between the banot. We who have already learned the Malbim know that when it says banot, what does it refer to?
It's like the organs?
The powers of the body, right? It's a negative connotation. Remember? While we've learned Rashi, and the banot are usually the other nations, the nations. So we already know code words from Shir HaShirim. Even though we only learned chapter 1, we've already learned some of the codes of Shir HaShirim. So, Ketapuach ba'atzeh hayar, ken dodi ben abanim. As an apple or an apple tree in the midst of the forest, so is my beloved between the banim. What are the banim then in this case for Rashi at least? Ben banim. So the ben is Hashem, and the other gods. That's what it would be. Okay, the other gods, right? The banot are the nations. The banim are the other gods. So I'm just throwing this out now, just as like a codes for the two perushim we've been learning. Betzilo chimadati v'yashavti u'firyo matok lecheli. I sit in his shade, and his fruit is sweet in my mouth. Heviani el bet hayayin v'diglo alay ahava. Okay, this is homework. What is bet hayayin for? What do we say yayin is? And the Malbim said a bunch of times. Yayin is a siman of prophecy, right? That was happiness. Yain it is happiness. But right, remember he talked about in the beginning how wine is a very low level happiness as opposed to prophecy. They both give you a high, they both give you a buzz, they both give you a something, but one is on the human level and one is on the prophetic level. Okay, so again, as we're already reading this, I'm hoping we're already reading in the right eyeglasses. In other words, we understand the hidden hints of what's going on here. Okay? So Eviani el bet hayayin. So he brought me to the house of wine, right? V'diglo alaya ava. Diglo. We saw also is his flag or his will is love. Samchuni ba'ashishot, rabduni b'tapuchim, ki cholat ava ani. So he has propped me up with ashishot. Ashishot are, there's a machlokes exactly what it is, but it seems to be wine glasses. Okay, ashishot. Rabduni b'tapuchim. He has propped me up with wine glasses. He has rabduni. He has cushioned me with tapuchim. Again, tapuchim. Right? We just saw tapuchim. So again, tapuchim. Ki cholat ava'ani, because I am sick with his love. So again, Malbim is going to be talking about the soul yearning for God, while Rashi is going to be talking about Am Yisrael calling out to Hashem that I'm sick for you. Smolo tachat deroshi v'yamino techabkeni. His left arm is under my head. His right arm draws me closer. Smol yamin are always powerful metaphors for different things. Usually, small being the weaker side or the less important one, as opposed to yamin. I'm just saying this as we're reading it to prep us for the perushim that we'll see as we go on. השבעתי אתכם בנות ירושלים, בצבאות או באיילות השדה, אם תאירו ואם תעוררו את האהבה עד שתחפץ. Right, I have made you vow, the daughters of Jerusalem. We know the daughters of Jerusalem are the body, or the nations. בצבאות או באיילות השדה. צבאות from the word tzvi. Tzvi, like sheep. deer.
Deer.
B'tzvaot o be'ayalot hasadeh, the ayal of the sadeh. Right? Im ta'iru v'im toreru et ha'ava ad shetichpat. So I have to see what that means. You have to ta'iru, awaken, lest you awaken the love until it is willed or consummated. Okay, so we're obviously going to have to see how this plays off, what they're referring to. Okay, but this is the end of the first song according to the Malbim. That was the last song, the last words of the first song. Okay, being the ending of the prophetic experience and going on. Rashi reads this straight through. All right, Rashi sees the chapter as a continuation, but the Malbim here really breaks, and this is a whole new story now from now on. Kol dodi nezeba, medaleg al ha'arim v'kabetz al ha'gvaot. Right, the voice of my beloved is coming, jumping over the hills, going over the mountains and the hills. Domel dodi letzvi, ole ofer hayalim, which obviously plays right into what we said a second ago, right? The hayalim and the tzvaot. Right, my beloved is like a deer, or like a young deer, a young ayal. A young ofer is a fawn.
What?
A fawn.
Fawn?
Fawn is a young deer. Bambi is a fawn.
Okay.
For all those who have Disney references, what? Fawn. Fawn. Ever hear the word fawn? So it's a young deer. Okay, ole ofer hayalim. Hine ze omed achar kotlenu. He's standing behind the walls. Mashgiach min hachalonot. He's looking through the windows. Metzitz ben hachalakim. Peeping through the holes in the wall. Okay, the cracks. Of course, it's just such a great metaphor for anything, right? He's right there. He's looking through the window. He's looking through the cracks. So whatever it is, it's just a great metaphor. Whatever we're going to explain it to be it Hashem looking at Am Yisrael, being it the soul looking for Hashem, looking at Hashem looking for the soul. Whatever it is, it's a powerful metaphor. Ana dodi v'amar li, kumilach rayati yafati ulechilach. Right, my beloved says to me, get up, my beloved, my beautiful beloved, and go. Kine hastav avar, hageshem chalaflo. Stav is autumn has passed, the rain is over. Hanitzanim niru ba'aretz, the buds of the trees are beginning to seen. Et azamir higia, the time of singing. Who sings in the spring? The birds. Et azamir higia. V'kol hator nishma ba'artzenu. The tor is the dove. Okay, the dove, turtle dove. I think that's how they turn out. Okay. So here we're opening up a new situation where we're talking about the spring. Okay, not surprising. We read Shir HaShirim on Pesach. On Pesach, לפחות Ashkenazim. I don't know what Teimanim do. Ashkenazim read it on Pesach every Shabbat. Okay. But the Ashkenazim read it on Pesach, and this is one of the reasons that it's quoted why we read it on Pesach, because we're talking about the spring. Right? Anitzanim niru ba'aretz, everything's budding, everything's la te'enach hanta fagea. The fagim, the earlier fruits begin to be forming into full fruits. Vakfadim smadar natnu reach. Smadar is the state when the individual grapes are already observable. Okay, smadar is an early stage of the geffen of the grapes, but it's a stage where you could already see that they're grapes. It's not just flowering. והגפנים סמדר נתנו ריח, קומילך, רעייתי, יפתי, ולכי לך. And go, walk, go. Where are they going to go? For Rashi, who's going where? Rashi, help me out. Who's going to be going somewhere?
Israel goes to exile.
Mechael. This is a positive statement.
So Israel comes back.
Leaving Mitzrayim. When did they leave Mitzrayim? On Pesach in the spring. Okay, so Rashi has this whole part is Rashi's going to. He's talking about Yetziat Mitzrayim. Okay? בסדר. יונתי בחגבי הסלע, בסתר המדרגה, my dove in the hidden parts of the rock, the hidden parts of the madriga. These are like cracks. Hareini et maraich. Show me your semblance. Show me yourself, appearance. Hashmi'ini et kolech, ki kolech arev, umarech naveh. Your voice is beautiful and your appearance is pretty or desirable. Okay, so up until now, it's pretty positive, a lot of these things we're talking about. Suddenly we have this pasuk that is like, Echezu lanu shualim.
Shualim, foxes.
Foxes. Shualim ktanim mechablim kramim. Dear little foxes who have latched on to us. Mechablim, like terrorists. but what does mechablim mean in this case? They are terror or hurting, harming. Right? We talked about Shimshon, foxes, harming, fox terrorists, yeah. The fox terrorists. So lechabel really means to damage. That's what it means. Right? When we learn in Sanhedrin, so he said, Dinei chabalot. The other chabalot are damages, or harming, harm. Like. No, so it's not hevel, it's lechabel. Lechabel is to cause damage. Chabel.
No, but chaval, when you say chaval, is it the same root?
Well, it is the same root. It's chet bet, yeah, lamed. Chaval, chevel is also the same root.
No, it's hevel, no?
Chevel, a rope. A rope. A rope. Rope is a chevel.
Oh.
Right? Chabala is also from the same root. What's the connection? I'm not sure. I'm sure we can think of it quickly. But mechablim kramim. So these little shualim are herding the vineyards, right? We just talked about the vineyard, right? We said the gfanim are getting ready. And now the vineyards. Ukramenu smadar. We just said a second ago, right? That's where smadar, the state of the vineyard is the early state. So who are these foxes? What is their purpose? What's going on here? It just suddenly puts like Moshe, you probably have a discord, right? Something like we're reading something pretty. The spring is here. Everything's shy. Everything's budding. Everything's growing, and suddenly, boom! We have these foxes in the vineyard, which is probably not a good thing, even though it's not clear exactly what it is, right? And then he says, "Dodili ve'anilo." My beloved is for me, and I'm for Haroeh b'Shoshanim. He's the one who is a shepherd in the Shoshanim, which is Shoshanim is what we started for. Remember, that was the flowers, the lilies from the beginning of the chapter. Ad she'afuach hayom v'nasu atzlalim, until the day is blown and the shadows disappear or retreat. Sov, turn around. D'melecha dodi letzvi, o le'ofer hayalim al harei bater. And here, Be'emet Rashi is going to read the last psukim here as suddenly a flip. What's the flip that's going to happen after Yetziat Mitzrayim? Chet ha'egel, meraglim. Right, now Rashi is going to bring in to the end of the chapter a discord that you suddenly hear at the end. Well, the Malbim is also going to be talking about a discord, but as a discord of the separation from Hashem. Okay, so these are our guidelines. Bigadol. We have a lot of things we've already seen in Perek Aleph. A lot of wine, grapes, a lot of beloveds going on here, right? A lot of fruits. And we'll have to see how it plays out in our chapter. So let's dive in. We're going to start Dafka not with Rashi. We're going to start with the Malbim, because the Malbim continues his line of Parshanut, that we're still in the prophetic experience. Okay, so this chapter is still delineating the prophetic experience. If you guys remember, we've learned quite a bit about the prophetic experience, where it comes from, how you go through it, what are the dangers, how you get there. The mind as opposed to the heart, the prophetic experience as opposed to all human comprehension, and the difference between the two. We talked about the godliness in the world or the godliness inside us. Right? There are different things we were talking about that is really sort of like, I don't know, Lalouche. He's sort of like, what do you say? needing the concepts of spirituality and prophetic experience. And he's going to continue that pretty much now until for the first 7 psukim of the chapter. That's what hopefully we'll be able to do today. And then next week we'll go back to Rashi.
Wow.
What?
I'm just talking to my
Oh, it's not so much. It's not so much. Not as much as last time.
Wow.
Not as much as last time. Makala. It's less than usual.
You look at the Russia, it's like very simple.
Yeah, Rashi's small.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'll be Sedem. Tov. So let's start off at the beginning, okay? Remember, he likens himself, or she likens herself, to Chavatzelet HaSharon and Shoshanat HaAmakim. All right, the Chavatzelet of the Sharon. The Sharon is the coastal area, really. That's what it is usually. And the Shoshana that goes in the valleys. All right, so the Malbim is going to put them on 2 different levels. The Chavatzelet Sharon is like the good situation. There's also the Shoshana Ha'amakim. And again, anyone who has a poetic sense of ear here, Amakim is always the emek, right? Mima Amakim Kraticha Hashem. We say in Shir Ma'alot. It's a low level, right? The emek is a valley, right? It's hidden. It's shadowed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we'll see how the Malbim plays off these 2 terms as saying 2 levels. Let's take a look. So, Ani. Right, that's a quote. Ani. Hanefesh omeret. Ani. So who's talking? The soul, right? It's Hashem talking, the soul talking. So here we're in the soul. The Raya, the beloved, who is always the person in the sense. The person, it's his soul, it's his neshama, his nefesh, it's him, whatever it is. It's the human in the connection here. הנפש אומרת, אני דומה כחבצלת הגדלה בשרון, וכשושנה הגדלה בעמקים. I am like both of them. In what way? רצוני לומר. כי בבחינה זו, אשר אפשוט סלמותיי הצועים, ואצא מן העמק והחורים, שהיא השכונה בגבייה אל השרון, להתחמם נגד אור השמש הגדול, שהוא אור השם הזורח עליי. אני דומה כחבצלת השרון, שפותחת פרחיה, כפתוריה וקנותיה, לבלוע אור השמש ותטה אחריו, ואז תתראה ביופייה והדרה. Okay, I'll go on a second. He's defining a flower opening up to the sun. Okay? This says the Nefesh, when Hashem, you reveal yourself to me in this situation, I'm like a flower opening up its petals. Okay, this is the situation it is. In other words, in a, what? It's very figurative, right? It's a very picture. This is what the soul feels like when it experiences the presence of Hashem. Okay, it's like a flower opening up. כן תזרח עלי השמש האלוהות, תתפשט הנפש, ותוציא פרחיה הרוחניים, ותגלה זרועיה, שהיא האלוהות הצפון בה, ואז תתראה בהדרה ועוד תפארתה. What happens, we talked about this, we said at the end of the last chapter, when Hashem reveals himself to us, we reveal ourselves to him. There is a sort of like Mishlei says, like the water from a face to a face, right? So too is the heart of a man to a man. Right? This idea of when Hashem appears to us, then the godliness inside of us shoots up. Where do we see that in the Midrash, a famous Midrash? That's what happens in Har Sinai, right? What happens in Har Sinai? Hashem appears in Har Sinai. What happens to everyone's souls? Where they fly out of the body. That picture is what the Malbim is referencing here. In other words, not that specific picture, but that concept. In other words, it's not just a concept that happens in Har Sinai. It's a concept that happens when soul meets godliness. Okay, what happens is the soul flies out of the body, which in one way is extremely frightening, and the other way is the sweetest and most amazing thing that could possibly happen. It is absolute giving yourself over to godliness. It's a very basic spiritual experience of those who have had the opportunity to meet a higher plane of existence. There is a pull that almost takes you out of your senses. Right? Remember we learned about what happens to someone when they have prophecy. Maybe in Shmuel we learned about it. Right? You just shake and you fall apart. What we saw. And then when Shaul and the people have a prophecy, the Mechael talked about it. Remember that there's some kind of there. But this, he's not showing the negative part of it. Here he's talking about the positive part about it. It's like a flower opening up. So this is what happens in the prophetic experience. But he says, Ani chavatzer tashon shoshanat ha'amakim. So the Malbim, who loves to divide things up into different parts, here is dividing it into two parts. When Hashem reveals himself, I open up like a flower. But when he's not revealing himself anymore, I am like Shoshanat HaMakim. What does that mean? Ulam. I'm in 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth line from the top, right in the middle of the sentence. Ulam. Besur kvod Hashem me'alea, ubishaka shemesh hagadol, she'az tizgor prachea, v'tikmotz pia v'zro'ea Elohim mitkavtzim el tocha, lo yitru achutza, v'tashuv el ha'emek shehi ha'gviyah. Remember that word, gviyah. Gviyah is the body. Okay? Gviyah. He says it hundreds of times here, okay? Gviyah is the body. It's the antithesis.
It means body or is like
it means the body. No, it means the body. No, that's not this is the body. The metaphor is the emek. Okay? The emek is there. Remember we talked about the emek going down. So the valley here is the body. So when the body once again starts buzzing you, okay, remember we talking about how the focus on godliness as a human being is limited because you're not God. You have a body, you have needs, you have wants. So at some point, it stops. All right. So what happens after you had the godly experience, and then the body once again takes over? What happens in this case? So it could be a tragedy on the one hand. On the other hand, let's see what happens. Okay. אז תפלת הריח הטוב והרוחניות שקיבלה מן האור הגדול ושכניה, שהם כוחות הנפשיות הנתלוות בחומר או הנתלות בחומר ונרדי בשמח, יתבשמו וישימו בכליהם ללמוד ממנה דרכי השם והנהגתו, חוכמתו וחסדיו. ואז תדמה כשושנת עמקים אשר תפלט לך תחת הצללים. In other words, there is a smell. What is the smell? Do you guys remember what the smell is? In the Malbim, the smell. He talked about the smell quite a bit. The smell is, as he's talking about the smell of the flower. Shoshanat ha'amakim, it's hidden already. It's in the valley. You don't see it anymore, but you still smell it. It's like when you go into a place and you go, whoa. Or you ever go by a plant and you go, whoa, there's a strong smell. I don't know where it's coming from. There's a strong smell. The smell, he always said, is the what we call the remnant, or the pull towards the godliness, even when the godliness isn't clear. Smell, we said, has no source necessarily. It could be without a source. There's the picture he's defining here. After this, you're open to the sun. When you go back to the body, even through your bodily functions, you could still smell godliness in what's going on in your life. You don't. It doesn't go from 100 to 0. You go from 100 to 50. But in the 50, you're still feeling the experience remains in the bodily functions, in the experiences you have in your sight and your hearing and your understanding and your comprehension and your love and your emotions. All these things are affected by that experience you have, the prophetic experience, and they remain as a smell. Okay? They're not there itself because the sun went away. You're not there anymore. The sun disappeared. But you're still, because you're in the valley, you're in the shade in that sense. But there's still a remnant to this. Okay? This is the movement that happens. This is what he's referring to here. Ani chavatzet Sharon, Shoshanat Hamakim. 2 different stages. When you're there, when you appear, I'm chavatzet Sharon. I'm open. When you disappear, I become Shoshanat Hamakim. I have a good smell. It's not the same thing as before, but it's still being affected by the experience we have. Again, I want to, as we're learning the Malbi more and more, we talked about how the school maybe all Jewish schools should be a little more intense on their striving for this prophetic experience, or some kind of experience here. At some point, I'll bring you guys a Rabbi Piasetzna. Anyone ever learn the Rabbi Piasetzna? Piasetzna Rabbi, who was a big believer in prophecy or spiritual experience. We'll call it that way. And he talks about it all the time in his books. Probably have heard the books, the Chovat HaTalmidim, or Eish Kodesh, Derech HaMelech, Chshat Avrechim, different books, where he talks about this is this is who we are as Jews. We have the ability to experience God. And he has the guidelines how to do this. There was a time when I was very, very involved in what he was talking about. So, anyway, so says Piasetzna, the Rabbi Klonimis Kalman Shapira. He actually was killed in the Holocaust. Yeah, the Piasetzna. Piasetzna. It's a funny way to write. In English, it's impossible to write it. In Hebrew, it's Piasetzna. Rabbi Piasetzna. That's what he's called. Yeah, you have P-I-A Z-C. Some kind of crazy Yiddish Piasetzna. Anyway, I'll bring his book. Next time I'll bring his book and I'll read you guys some parts of it because he's been fascinating on how to do these things. Maybe when I'm more awake, we'll even practice some of the things he has there. Tov. Anyway, Kishoshana. Now Hashem answers. Okay, Tshuvat Adod Elyon Baruch Hu. Right. So now the beloved answers. The man, beloved, answers and says, Kishoshana Omnam Adona Doma Ben Bnot Yerushalayim. Remember, he said Ben Abanot, the Kochot HaGviyah. There's the word again, right? Yetzono lomar ben kochot hagviyah keshoshana she'et shehigdela alav malech chochim וצריך שתינשא ראשה להם ואל תתערב עמהם כי אז ינקבו החוכים כן כוחות החומריות אשר הנפש תינשא עליהם הם כוחות המנקבים את השושנה הקדושה. Says Hashem, careful, Mrs. Shoshana. You have to be careful because there are chochim, there are thorns all over the place. And you have to be careful that you're not punctured by them. In other words, there has to be a time where you manage, even though, right, you just said, when you're fully there, I'm fully present. And even afterwards, there's a smell that remains, right? The Shoshanat Amakim says Hashem, be careful. You're Shoshana ben Achochim. Seder ken rayati ben abanot. You are involved, you're in a danger area in the body. There's always a pull, there are always pulls that are bringing you, drawing you, pulling you to different places, pulling you away from me, pulling you to your lusts and to your wants and to your bodily needs and to your imagination, which is also wrong a lot of times, and your philosophical bents that sometimes are also wrong. All these things are the powers of the body. Hashem says, be careful, please. Because all these are punctural. They puncture you. They have thorns. They're dangerous. Okay? In other words, even though there is a smell that comes at the end of the day, she wasn't lying when she says that. The Hashem says to get the full brunt of the experience, you have to make sure you're separated from these things. Tov. Okay. Now the Malbim is going to go on a large explanation on providence, okay, different kinds of providence, and he's going to talk about the Musag Merkava. You ever hear that? The Merkava? Avot, the chariot. The forefathers are the chariot, right? Avot him a Merkava. What in the world does that mean? He's going to try to explain what that means here, and in a sense, he's also going to tell us how we actually influence Hashem's providence in the world. Okay, how it goes through us, it flows through us. So the pasuk is Ketapuach b'atzei hayar ken dodi ben abanim b'tzilo chimadati v'yashavti ufiryo matok chiki. Okay, as a apple tree amongst the ya'ar.
What does Resh Lamed mean?
Ritzonu lomar. Ritzonu lomar.
Ritzonu
Yeah, in other words, that's what he says. This is what it really means. Okay.
The Resh and the Lamed?
Reish Lamed. Reish Lamed is Ritzoni lomar or Ritzono lomar. Okay, this is what he says. It's a lot, especially in this kind of commentary, where he's always going to explain what is being said here. Okay, as opposed to what it says. He's going to say Ritzono lomar. What does he really want to say? So, okay. I'm trying to think if we want to read this whole thing. It's long. Can't read all the Malbim is difficult. I just want to be meduyak. I wrote for myself. I have a summary on the side, but I don't manage to summarize him as meduyak as his words are. So I feel sort of it's not unfair that I read it like that. Well, first of all, just for the metaphor, okay, an apple tree is short. Okay, there's a picture. The apple tree is short, and he's amongst the trees of the yar, the trees of the forest that are very large. So the picture we have here is Katapuach be'atzei hayar ken dodi ben abanim. Hashem is like a apple, who is a beautiful tree or whatever, the tree that's wanted in this case, but he's amongst lots and lots and other trees. Right? We have to see how this works. All right.
Hashem between the other powers.
Right. So we'll have to see what it means. Okay. Obviously, right. We're not accepting that there are other powers here. But the Raya says, even though there are lots of other shade trees or other trees that are much more greater, that give a lot of shade, I want to sit under the shade of the apple tree. Okay?
Hashem is likened to the apple tree?
Yeah.
Why apple tree?
Why the apple tree as opposed to any other tree? Yeah. First of all, it's short. And it has fruit. It's a good question, tapuach. Let's see if he opens it up. Why dafka the tapuach? Not only that, he says it again, right? Rabduni b'tapuchim. And then the two psukim later, he's going to use the same word, tapuchim, dafka. Dafka. I don't remember the Malbim giving a specific definition of why it's the tapuach. Probably a good gematria for tapuach. Tapuach is 486 and 8. I'm just for 494, right?
400.
Yeah, 94.
80. Yeah, no, 90.
494. 494. That ring a bell, anyone? 494. So.
That is 90.
91. 90, 91. We know about, right? Almost 500. 6 under 500. Tough. So let's just jump. No, let's not jump. We have to read it. I'm sorry. Yalla. Ritzonu lomar. מצד שהוא מנהיג העולמות ומניעם ומחיה אותם כנפש המניע ומחיה את הגבייה, שמזה הצד ידמה לנפש שמנהיג גופים ומניע אותם ונותן להם חיות ושפע. Even though Hashem is the mover of the world, He is the one who gives life to the world. He's the one who makes everything happen in the world. Right? Even though all these things are true. Right, one second. He's still amongst the banim. There are other rulers of the world. What do we believe in other things? One second. So let's see. Shehi ateva u'mishtarei shamayim v'kochotem asher chalak lehem ad sheshefa hashgacha yored met Hashem ne'elemet v'nisteret u'me'utefet ודומה ביניהם כתפוח בעץ היער, שהם מצד גובה עציהם מרוב ענפיהם מאפילים ומכסים על התפוח שעצו קטן. כן, הכדורים הגדולים סובבים על אופניהם ועשימו משטרם בעולם, הם מורגשים לעין. לא כן, ההשגחה האלוהית שהיא צפונה מן העין. Do you feel God's providence? Sometimes, but you usually feel. You feel time. You feel space. You feel the pull of gravity and history and sociology and genetics, right? There are many things that rule our world. There are many things of psychology. There are a lot of things that rule our world that you feel are what is really moving the world. What's really moving? Most people you talk to will give you an explanation on one of the levels I just said. You can talk about the physical world, they can talk about the psychological world, they can talk about even the spiritual world, they can talk about all kinds of things. How much is Hashem moving the things? Oh, that's something that's okay, that's divinity school. That's not the regular, that's out of the picture. That's the tapuach. Okay, the tapuach, it's there. But you really don't see it often because it's completely hidden by all these big trees that seem to be the story of the forest. Okay, they're the ones who give the shade. So the Malbim is saying this is the metaphor here. Okay, the tapuach in the sense is the providence of Hashem, but the providence of Hashem is hidden. It's hidden in the world. You don't really see it. Vine yesh beze bet pchinot. Right? There's a Malbim, it says this many places, not only here. He likes to talk about this. We learned it in Shoftim. We learned it in Shoftim. It was a big thing. And in Sefer Shoftim. Yesh beze bet pchinot. Shelifamim yanhig hanaga hashkechit vivatel kol kochot hateva. Sometimes Hashem takes over. And He takes over the powers of the nature. Like Kriyat Yam Suf. Like maybe the 6 Day War, right? Maybe these times when you really feel Hashem's presence. It also could be on a personal level, by the way. Okay, it also could be on a personal level. You see, this is completely, doesn't make any sense. Makes no legioni how we got to this situation. But here we are. Here we are in this situation. And kanireh, this is what Hashem wanted. Okay, there are times when it's more clear, times when it's less clear. ולפעמים תגבר הנהגת הטבע, לחוקות שמיים ומשתרם, עד שהדוד העליון נעלם. Alright, and sometimes, הדוד העליון נעלם, Hashem's presence is not clear. Things look like they're haphazard, things are happening b'mikra, things are happening because of 101 different reasons. None of them are Hashem. Okay? Often that's the situation where sometimes it's clear, usually it's not clear. Usually our world sort of runs its course in however course it's running. How do these things happen? Why is sometimes Hashem appearing and providencing us? And why is sometimes we're confused and the world seems to be what's happening? Listen to what he says here. Big statement he says here. וזה נמשך לפי מה שהנהיגו הנפשות את עולמיהם הקטנים. Why does it happen? Because it depends what you're doing in your own life. You, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you. Okay? And here he's going to go into this concept of how there's a small world and a big world. And it's two circles, and they're connected. And the big world is going to be changed by the small world, or is going to be led by the small world. In other words, what you do here is what's going to change how Hashem deals with the whole world. It's a frightening statement almost. Let's take a look. ברצוני לומר, את גביעותיהם, שאם הם שוררים על גביעותיהם, ומנהיגות אותם הנהגה השכיחית בחירית, לפי פקודת השכל והבחירה החופשית, if you use your free will to rule over your bodily functions, you, the individual, use your free will to be in charge and not be subjugated to their whims and their pulls and their lusts and what they do. If you purify yourself and you are in control, then what happens? It's amazing. אז גם העולם הגדול וטבעיו יכנעו לפני השכל העליון ברוך הוא, that's השם, ויונהגו תחתיו הנהגה ניסית. ואז יתחברו הנפשות עם נפש העולם יתברך. ואז יחזו במראות אלוהים. You want to see godly acts? take charge of your body. You take charge. That's what he says. Take charge. You take charge, and Hashem will take charge.
What does it mean, take charge of your body? As in, like, make sure your body's healthy?
No.
Or is that more in terms of Shmirat Habrit?
It's all and more of the above. Shmirat Habrit, Shmirat everything you could think of. It's when you're in charge, when you do things because the Ratzon Hashem and not because of anything else, which is why we do a lot of things. Don't oversleep, don't undersleep, don't eat too much, don't eat too little, don't say lashon hara, don't whatever. Everyone, we could all. I'm talking about myself. I'm bringing out the things I do. That's not you guys. It's me, not you. What?
You said the big world is dictated by the small world.
Right.
So the small world is each one of us have our own small impact, or is it when most of us are doing the same category? That's when big things happen.
It's a good question. I don't know how much. I think every one of us affects how much Hashem will appear in the world. It's not like if now, today, Israel completely controls himself, we're going to have a miracle. I don't think it works on the one-to-one basis. Unless maybe you're the greatest tzaddik in the world. Maybe you are, Yisrael, I'm sorry. But maybe one of us is the greatest tzaddik in the world, and they could really affect straight out. But pretty much, it's every individual. The more we do this, the more the big world will react to the little world. But again, it's like a fascinating concept. In other words, why when you it's a funny question, right? When you ask, why doesn't Hashem appear? Why aren't we worthy of miracles? Why can't Hashem just change nature? The Malbim says that's a possibility. It's not mufrach. It's not crazy to say something like that. What is crazy is for it to expect to happen without you being in control of your own life. That's what's crazy. Why do you think Hashem will make a miracle when you're not making your miracle with your own free will? You be miraculous in your own life. You take charge of the chomer. You take charge of physicality. You take charge of physicality. He'll take charge of physicality. He has no problem doing it. But it's up to us to start this motion. Sorry, this is a very, very powerful word.
I mean, it's kind of a heretic belief to think that we can change Hashem.
It's Hashem decides how he wants to act. Hashem's always influencing the world. In other words, when I talked about psychology and all the other things, Hashem's running psychology too.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's not disconnected from God. It's just not present and not clear. It's not the prophetic experience of God. It's what we talked about. It's Hashem within the boundaries of reality, which is, according to the Malbim, a lower level of existence. Some people could say that's a higher level of existence. There is the Malbim's shita here of trying to extract from the world is a certain understanding of how the world works. Okay, it's not necessarily the only one, but here he does come together and he's putting them together. You mentioned, I think you said in the beginning, right, David, about how it sounds sort of Christian, how we're trying to remove ourselves from our bodily functions. We're trying to do so the Malbim is really putting them in order. But again, he has the reach, he has this idea of this concept of also having. But right now, you be in control, okay? You be in control of your bodily functions, and Hashem will take control of the world. In our eyes, He's always in control of the world. The question is he a puppeteer in the background going like this, or is live action? And you see him acting in the stage.
Become more aware of that just by.
He makes it become aware. I don't think. I think the way he says it, it's not. It's an interesting point. David said maybe it's always like that.
Right.
We just don't notice it.
Yeah.
And when we purify ourselves, then we just become aware of it. It's not the language he's using. It was a possibility to say it like you said. It seems like we affect the actual revelation. In other words, Hashem can reveal himself in the world mamash. Not just to us, throughout. Okay, again, even though what you say makes it more sense, it keeps it a little more personal, keeps it a little more, I would say, psychological in a sense, right? I'm getting better, so then I just see the reality. It would make sense. It's just not the language the Malbim's using. The Malbim's mamash using a language of Hashem will change the Hanagah of the world. Okay? In other words, in a generation where there are a lot of sinners, per se, you guys understand the problem here, right? the more you sin, the less you will see God. He won't appear in a world like that. He'll say, okay, you guys are letting your body take over. I'm letting the world take over. It goes together. This is the world you want to create for yourself, where the lust and the lower parts of man are what's leading you. So I'll let the lower parts of reality rule the world, and you won't see anything. You won't see me at all. I'll be hidden. When you take control of your life, I'll take control of the world. It's almost the way he does it. It's a fascinating piece guy here. Oh, what will they get? They'll get prophecy. כי הנבואה תתגלה לנביאים. מזה מצד שהשם יתברך הוא נפש העולם, והעולמות הם מרכבתו. שזה עניין המרכבה שצבא ישעיהו ויחזקאל. This is exactly what they saw, that the world is a chariot for Hashem. It's not a blockage of Hashem, it's a chariot for Hashem.
The world is a chariot for Hashem?
כן. והעולמות הם מרכבתו. The worlds are his chariot.
Wait. The worlds. He's talking about the little worlds, like every
No. He's talking about, well, yes, also, because remember, there are little worlds and big worlds. Okay, so yes, so there are, in other words, the possibility of the worlds being chariots of his are always existent. Which David is asking, and again, I think what you're hinting towards, we have to be subtle here, Nachon, because when we just said when Hashem appears, what does it mean? Is there no reality when Hashem appears? Remember we talked about the Hashem could work the world through the regular realms of what we're used to, or he could appear. What happens when he appears? Like everything changes. Like what? Yeah, like the world starts. You can't breathe. Like what happens? Is it like a creation experience? Like suddenly there's nothing exists and there's only God, or Hashem suddenly reveals himself as the actual player in the things that are happening here, which that's what it sounds like here in the Merkava aspect. In other words, you thought it was history, you thought it was sociology, you thought it was psychology, you thought it was whatever it is, economy, it's all me. And it's clearly all me. It's not this. So you see it, but you see Hashem in there. Okay, that's what it seems to be in that sense. When you take over, when you control, that's what you'll see. I'm also almost finished. I don't feel so good right now. So let's stop here. I'm not feeling so good. Just had a shorter vision, but we'll continue from here.